And we will call to order the Cumberland County Finance meeting. And begin with a roll call, please, Desiree.
Commissioner Niederer.
I am here.
Commissioner Fashi. Commissioner Eichelberger.
We are at the point on the agenda where we open it up to public comment. I think all the folks in the room here are here for other purposes. Is there anyone indicating online that they would like to make public comment, Desiree?
No request.
Okay, very good. We will move on to the approval of the minutes of the September 24th meeting.
I'll move for adoption of the minutes of September 24th.
I'll second that. So it's moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next up, we will have some employee recognition. Hello. We're going to have some employee recognition, and for that, actually, I'm going to defer to my colleague, Commissioner Fashi, to acknowledge Regina Robinson for her 20 years of service.
Hi, Regina. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you.
So, Regina, you were here today with Diane Porterfield.
Yes.
Nice to see you. So, I want to thank you for your 20 years of service. I know that the board wants to thank you. And I reached out to Carolyn because I wanted to make sure that I had some history about you. And I'm going to tell you the first thing that she said about you, which I love. She said, Regina does her job with thoughtfulness, grace, and intelligence. She is an important part of the library system's internal operations and success. And what a compliment. Just fabulous. So, I know that you oversee the bibliographic record and authority control processes for all materials in the Cumberland County Library System, which means that people can use the catalog and find things, which is great. Thank you. And that 20 years ago, you were a desk clerk at Boston Memorial Library. You have a master's degree in library science, and you are a graduate of the County Leadership Training Program.
Yes.
So wonderful. So do you want to come up and we'll got a little material for you.
And Regina, I would shake hands, but I'm coming over a call. Congratulations.
Thank you
so
so
much
much.
for all of these beautiful years of service.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed working and serving the county as well as library system and all of the community.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I see, I read about you that you served on a special team at one point in time. And
Yes, it was, I did through the state, it was a technology team. I lead it, so we were learning about incorporating technology with the community, with the library system, and
great.
that was really cool.
Yes, and has paid off well for
so. It was
the
really
East Library, yes, and the library also. So,
Thank you.
Regina.
I love it when Cumberland County helps to elevate the state as well.
Yes,
So thank
yes.
you for doing that.
You're welcome.
So we'll get a few here, and then Carolyn will get you up here.
And I know Diane, I'm sure
Diane as
Diane,
well.
but yeah, so you want to do a few here, Ben, and then
Yeah,
we'll.
sure.
do some more?
Can I get everyone to do like that stuff?
Oh, we're doing the shuffle.
Yep, just a little bit. I would slow back. Okay, right there, you got it.
I'm telling you, Don's on the floor. We need Don.
It's hard when there's so many different people.
Table
Yeah.
our names, so.
I know. All right. Okay, do we want to have? Oh, did you already get your one?
I'm sure everyone.
Yes, I'll send it.
I did.
I'll
Yes,
send it.
Yours would be better, but.
I'll send some as well. Just-
Did you?
They'll show up on her 40th anniversary. I'm just very grateful that Regina is on my team. She's a wonderful team member and team leader, and the 20 years of institutional knowledge comes in handy sometimes.
Yes. Carolyn, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I didn't have very much to add at all to what.
It was very nice of Carolyn
I've
to.
been a very good friend to a good colleague, and I've loved working with her all these years. I've known her all 20 years.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Okay, formal stuff.
All right. Okay, gonna take several. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank
you.
you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And next up, we have a proclamation that we are going to be doing. And Commissioner Eichelberger is going to take that over from me as well.
Okay, we have a number of our folks here from MTO, Information Management Technology Office, so thank you, ladies. So we're, I guess we're gonna involve them in this, but the Board of Commissioners has once again recognized the Cyber Security Awareness Month. We're aware of it all the time, thanks to our good folks. So, but this is an issue, of course, that is very timely and continues to increase in importance. So we want to recognize it, get the word out in public too. So I'm going to read this, and then I guess we'll have you guys come up and then do the photos. So it reads, whereas Cybersecurity Awareness Month is an international initiative that highlights essential actions to reduce cybersecurity risks, highlights the need to strengthen the country's infrastructure against cyber threats, ensuring resilience and security, and whereas cybersecurity is more than an IT issue, it's a public safety and economic security priority. Many organizations are part of the nation's critical infrastructure, from local utilities and transportation systems to hospitals, schools, and public safety agencies. Whereas we can protect ourselves from phishing, viruses, ransomware, and other forms of malware, as well as prevent financial loss and the compromise of sensitive data by monitoring accounts, sharing information cautiously online, updating software regularly, creating and routinely changing strong passwords, and using antivirus programs, firewalls, and devices safely. Whereas critical infrastructure in our county government offices and emergency response systems is increasingly reliant on the support of information systems and technology. Whereas we live in a highly constant connected world with more sensitive information online than ever, this convenience comes with risks. All organizations are part of the nation's critical infrastructure and supply chain and have an important role in cybersecurity. Now, therefore, the Cumberland County Commissioners proclaim October 2025 as Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And of course, signed by all commissioners and attested by Dave.
We're gonna get the whole team up here.
Yeah, yes.
So I know one of the things that people will often ask as a commissioner, like what keeps you up at night?
You're the lead man on this.
Cyber security and fraud and all of that is what makes me anxious. So thank you all for the work that you do to help keep our systems safe.
Yeah.
And that protects not just the county, but so many individuals because of the world that we deal in. So thank you all for that.
Yeah, we're happy to be partners with a national program like this. Certainly the stuff that Gary read in the proclamation, the county doesn't do all those things, but we're certainly a major part of that. So we're happy to do our cybersecurity work on a regular basis. But you know what we can't do is kind of police all the people that are involved, and that's our unfortunately it's the most challenging part is to monitor what everyone else is doing. So this is an outreach program. We want to bring awareness to people, not only the employees of the county, but also the public. And so through Samantha and her team, social media outreach, we hope to do that with the county.
Yeah, I mean, every day you're seeing something about some scam that someone, and it's really a lot of elderly that are being harmed by these things with technology that, you know, quite frankly, a lot of folks don't understand. I'm sure I don't use half the capacity of my iPhone. So it is great that you want to take this charge, and Samantha, that we'll look forward to it through the month.
Absolutely, cool.
So very good. Okay, we'll take some formal ones. Are we okay?
I think so. Yep. All right. I'm gonna take several. Okay, we're good. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, gentlemen. All right, and next up on the agenda, we have the Cumberland Area Economic Development Corporation providing us with an update. So I'm not sure who, we have Janet Anderson listed, but it looks like there's a lot more people in the house. So I'm not sure how you want to do this. You can pull up as many chairs as you need.
thought it was time to get the staff out and engaged and involved, so that everyone could meet them. Good afternoon, commissioners, and thank you for your continued support of CADIC. As Cumberland County's designated tourism and economic development organization, we're proud to present an October 2025 update and share how your investment is driving measurable impact across the county. Today's presentation highlights the return on your support from a 4.3% increase in visitor spending to over 2.8 million in economic impact from our lending activities. We've expanded our outreach, launched new digital tools, and strengthened our partnerships with local businesses, municipalities, and regional stakeholders. We'll walk through some key updates in tourism, marketing, and economic development, including our tourism grants, work on brownfield redevelopment, and organizational growth. These efforts are not only improving quality of life and economic vitality, they are also reinforcing Cumberland County's reputation as a destination for both visitors and business investment. We appreciate the opportunity to share how your funding is being put to work and how it's helping us build a stronger, more resilient Cumberland County. And with that, I'm going to stop and turn it over to the staff with Laura Delaney, our newest member of staff, Director of Tourism and Marketing, to start off the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you for having us today. We're going to start with marketing. And as you know, there's a lot that goes into marketing. So we kind of condensed this into a few slides and we'll move sort of quickly through each of those. What we did is we wanted to compile some hard-hitting highlights and results that we've experienced since the last time we were here. So we'll start with a big one, advertising. One thing that really stood out as we were looking at data from the last 6 months is that for tourism specifically, in a campaign that we're doing with Expedia and hotels.com, we have display banner ads on there. We saw a 10.4 return on ad spend. So that means for every dollar that we spend in that ad campaign, we're getting $10.40 back. To give some context to that, in May, it was 6.4. So we know that May is kind of gearing up into the heavy summer season, but just to kind of give you some context on that big jump into June. Then for economic development, one thing we've really been focusing on is the real tangible results that we're getting from some of our advertising. And one of those is form fills for grants and loans specifically. So year over year for that time period, and I'll just back up real quick. When the data that I'm presenting is April through September 24.
Thank you, because I was going to say.
Unless
that's
otherwise
right.
noted,
Okay.
yes. So you have additional context there. So 94% year over year, 25 over 24, we saw a 94% increase in those form fills. That is a difference between 97 this year and 50 last year. So our advertising is working, is really what that's saying. Then in terms of destination sales, we hosted 6 large group events throughout the county, which equated to about 1,100 room nights and an economic impact of $2.1 million. For earned media, and this is a year-to-date figure, just to give some context to that, we've seen 71 million impressions, 150 PR mentions, and these are publications like the Sentinel, Penn Live. We were mentioned in Yahoo News, Journal of Business News. So a number of different local and a somewhat more national or more accessible media. And that the estimated media value is nearly $900,000. So then experience trails. As you know, we have a lot of trails that bring people to the area or boost the economic impact of our businesses. The ice cream trail had a 51% increase in check-ins year over year, which is surpassing 5,000 check-ins. So each year, one of our goals is to grow the impact of those trails. And I think, we can show that we've done a really good job in doing that. And then the Carlisle History Walk, this sort of surprised my team in that it was sort of a we're going to put this together. We think has some value, but it really exceeded our expectations and is so far we've seen 741 signups and over 1,300 check-ins. So definitely something that's working to get people out and learning about the historical significance of the area. In terms of our newsletters, these obviously are ways for us to have a one-to-one or one-to-many impact with our stakeholders. So we have a number of different newsletters. Our partner newsletter has a distribution of about 2,700 people. The open rate is for the April to September time period is 54%. The visitor newsletter, we're looking at just over 12,500 people, has a 55% open rate. Quarterly tourism newsletter, another 3,200, and we're sitting at about a 49% open rate. And then we sent our second quarterly economic development newsletter in July. That has about 1,400 people on the list and a 44% open rate. So just a note here, going forward, I mean, open rates are really great, but one of our challenges is then what is our click-through rate? How do we get people to click through to the articles that we're referencing, to the content that we want them to read? So going forward, that's something that will be included in our goals. America 250, probably most people know, but we are sponsoring the Cumberland County Bell. We're working towards finalizing the artist and the location, and we should have that information by the end of the week. So we're excited about that. We've earmarked $20,000 for an America 250 PA sponsorship program, which will support projects anywhere from $300 to $2,500 that work toward celebrating the 250th anniversary. And then we are working toward a Revolutionary War Trail, and that's in partnership with a number of the area historical societies as well as USAID.
Lauren, we're going to be meeting with a group of municipalities tomorrow, and they've asked us to maybe opine about what's happening around America 250. And so if it's okay with you, we'll make sure to mention your grant in the event that a municipality needs assistance with something that they want to do to be a part of that.
That would be great.
So
Yes.
thank you.
For social media, we have grown our Instagram followers by 4,300. So that's a difference. We had 1,600 in 2024. So we've grown that now over 4,300. So Facebook is another place where we really focus on the tourism audience. And we had over 51,000 engagements. So those are people who are commenting, who are liking, who are clicking through the various posts. And then we use LinkedIn specifically for economic development as a way to touch with those stakeholders. It's a brand new program for us, but we have 280 new followers versus 227 in all of 2024. So it's something that we're really working toward, and we have a lot more content than we did last year. So by the end of 2025, we'll have over 54% more content that we're sharing about events and grant and loan programs and things like that. For our websites, we have two websites. We have our Visit Cumberland Valley, and one page I wanted to highlight for this is Where the Week Ends, and that is one of our main landing pages for advertising. What we've seen is that there has been a 131% increase in traffic, specifically from the New York City area. And what's interesting about this is it has a over 30% engagement rate. We know that a lot of people are coming from Philadelphia. We get a lot of Drive Market traffic from there, and their engagement rate, if we look at it in terms of website visits, it's 38.7. So what we're really seeing is that our advertising dollars are supporting a metro where there's potential, but where we have seen traffic coming from. So we're really trying to grow that. And the way we're doing that with a paid campaign is relatively economical. For the Cumberland Business website, our blog traffic is up 274% year over year. That is attributed to our growth in our SEO strategy. We have worked on different keywords to boost that. So I think, my team has done a really good job of working towards boosting that content. For visitor services, just some key highlights. We've distributed over 39,000 visitor guides throughout the area, and we have visitor guides everywhere. You've seen them everywhere. And then an exciting thing, I think we mentioned that the last time we were here, that we were going to be working with to get the visitor center signage on the 81 throughway updated. So that is now updated, and it looks wonderful. Some updates on the promotions. Last time we were here, we kind of highlighted or gave some foreshadowing of the Meal Madness campaign. We had 60,000 votes for that this past year, and our winner was the Valley Bistro. We also had a table during the Travel and Tourism Week, and there's an estimated 6,900 people that saw our materials or interacted with us in that way. And then grant funding. We have awarded, in the time period that we're talking about, April to September, we've awarded over $215,000 in grants. That includes the Event Cafe, Jubilee Cake Studios, and then we have one more that we cannot announce yet. We're waiting for the agreement to be signed. I did want to add some additional information about the tourism grants, just so that you have a fuller picture. That year to date, we have awarded over $592,000 worth of grants. That is 9 projects specifically funded, 2 that were the tourism recovery, 3 that were the tourism product development, and then 4 for destination sales grants. And just a note, sorry, we are updating our grant program. So as of October 29th, we will be sunsetting this current cycle. Starting November 6th, we should have a new cycle. And just a quick highlights overview. We're decreasing the minimum for some of the programs and increasing the maximum for some others so that we can fund additional projects. And then we're introducing a new sponsorship program. Okay, this is where we'll really see more of those concrete results in terms of visitation. So before going into the real hard data in this, I just want to say that this is reporting on geolocation data. So this is modeled data through a partner program that we use. The stipulations are that the visitors have to be coming from 50 plus miles away. They must be at least 18 years or older, and they must opt in on one of the apps to allow tracking so that we can say this device was in this location. So we'll start with visitor days, over 7 million. The asterisk here again is, remember, this is modeled. This includes any device that has come through the area. So it could be drive-through traffic. We have a lot of trucking traffic. So we want to make note of that. Again, this is not hard and fast data. But then when we're looking in terms of overnights, when we see that the device has been in the area more than, for a couple hours or just one day, we see that 46.6% are staying for overnight visits. And that equates on average to about 2.1 days in market. Top origin markets, which probably isn't a surprise, is Philadelphia, New York, we talked about that, Washington, D.C., Pittsburgh, and then Wilkes-Barre. And then lodging data. A note about this is April 1st through August 31st, just because of when we have access to the data. So when we're looking at that, we're looking year over year, 25 over 24. And what's indicated in these blocks is averages for the month or for that time period. So what we see is that ADR, occupancy, and RevPAR, we consider this relatively flat. Anything around the 1% is sort of nominal. So we are really deeming that flat change. We are seeing that demand is up 1.9% year over year. And that supply is also up 2.6%. So that is why we kind of see occupancy, quote unquote, down. Demand is up, but supply is also up at the same time. So that's just, a high level look at that. And then one final thing we wanted to share, we actually got the economic impact study from the state. I believe I was informed that this is about 4 months earlier than we normally get this information. So it was really good timing to share it with you. So just a couple quick highlights that the county saw a 4.3 increase in visitor spending over 2023. And again, these are 2024 numbers. Visitors spend an estimated 996 million, and that includes lodging, food, beverage, retail, rec, transportation, etc. And then I'm going to jump down to the bottom where we talk about how tourism funds jobs in the area. So over 6,500 jobs and 248 million in labor income is in Cumberland County from 2024.
So Laura, do we know how the state gets this data? Their lodging, I would imagine it's from the state lodging tax that they would be able to tell kind of what the volume of dollars spent. And the same maybe on income tax, that they would have maybe positions coded if they're tourism related.
Well, I know they work with tourism economics, so I think they're pulling that in. And I'm unsure of the specifics about like where that data is coming from.
I mean, it's great data,
Yeah, and that's something I can look into, like what those specific, where they're pulling that information from. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Greg.
Thanks, Laura. I'm also going to highlight that anything we have in the economic development slides are also between April and September. So in 2025, we've made a real concerted effort to expand our outreach and education efforts to make folks aware of the services and programs that we offer. One of those initiatives that we've taken up is establishing a quarterly lenders meeting where we extend an invitation to private lenders that operate within Cumberland County to join us to talk through things that we're seeing in the county. We always bring in a guest speaker as well to talk about a specific topic or program to help educate those individuals on those resources as well. We've had 2 so far this year. 7 different lending institutions have been represented, and it's resulted in 3 new project leads. One of those was actually just approved at our finance committee meeting in September, and we're hoping that it's going to move to closing next week. We hosted an event back in May. We invited some folks from the business PA team at DCD to present to developers, commercial realtors, and any other folks that might be interested in learning more about the new PA site search tool. It's essentially a spin-off of CoStar's, I would describe it as. Allows realtors, property owners, developers to post information about sites that they have available for sale or lease. You can include information such as tax information, utilities, timeline to development, all of these things that we typically see requested in site selection, RFIs, request for information. So it's really a great tool. And the state is now using that as their primary source when those state level requests for information come in. As of today, we do have 7 sites on the site, and we're continually engaging realtors and developers to increase that number of sites. In June, we held a local share account grant seminar, hosted nonprofits and municipalities and other invested individuals had representatives from the local share account program office to talk about the program specifically, as well as provide some best practices for submitting grants. And we feel that that has led to the increase that we saw this year between Category 4 application submissions through CADIC last year at 7 to 17 that were submitted this year. In August, we partnered with the Small Business Development Center to promote services and financing that are available to socially and or economically disadvantaged individuals. CADIC highlighted our available state small business credit initiative funds that we have through U.S. Treasury program via DCED. So Griffin Means was able to talk to attendees about that program and how they can access it. And Commissioner Nieder, I heard you mention tomorrow you're going to be at the Cumberland County Association of Township Officials. Laura and I are also going to be there. So if you do have
Bring your stuff.
yeah, so feel free to tell anyone to stop by our table. We're happy to discuss those grants.
We'll mention it when with what they're asking us at the onset.
Sure.
Greg, one question, you mentioned the PA sites or.
Yes.
The sites that are on that,
Mhm.
are they mostly vacant parcels ready for development, or is there redevelopment projects on that?
There's a mix of existing buildings, new buildings, and vacant sites.
Okay.
And some of those are a result of our direct efforts last fall when Team PA and PP&L were doing site searches, RFIs for available sites. So we collected information on a few sites that met the much larger criteria, but the criteria for actually posting properties on the site is not near as restrictive as it was during that exercise.
That we recently were again talking with some municipalities, and a number of the older municipalities on, closer to Harrisburg, that are more fully developed, we're talking about their concerns about redevelopment. So, and the specific projects, so that too will be a good thing maybe to talk about with some of the municipal representatives there. If they want to get one of those sites on your site.
Yeah.
A lot of sites going here.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of business retention and attraction, so we are involved with the state's Engaged Business Calling Program, as well as the Partnership for Regional Economic Performance, which encourages us to meet with businesses at their facilities, engage them via phone and email, respond to their questions when they come into us. But since April, we've had 49 businesses reach out to us and work with us directly. That's led to 41 referrals. Some of those businesses were still kind of waiting on some more information to assess what they truly need before we can kind of hand them off to one of our partners. And on the attraction front, we have received 6 new requests for information for businesses that are seeking to potentially locate in Cumberland County. It's important to note that a lot of these are either statewide, nationwide, or regional searches. So it doesn't necessarily mean that those businesses are coming here. It just allows us that opportunity to identify sites and provide additional information that might entice them to come to Cumberland County. And those have been primarily in the industrial and manufacturing sector.
So much of this activity that you're talking about here is very passive, like, correct, people are calling in and you're referring, it's not stuff that you have to actively, it's more passive in that way.
Yeah, although it does typically lead to some type of research, whether it be doing a little bit of a deeper dive into, is this the best resource for them? It may lead to an instance where they do want to seek funding or financing through CADIC.
Do you know that are they being driven, I'm sorry, when you said, I know it's part of the state's program, is it all of those calls directly from the state, or is that they can be website, they can be any way they get your number?
They can be driven by things that we post on social media. They can be driven by partner or client referrals, partner referrals, ads that we've been really pushing out, and through our newsletters as well.
Site selectors as well.
Yeah, site selectors as well.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to highlight a few things from this slide. We have been recertified by the Pennsylvania Industrial Development Authority as Cumberland County's lead economic development organization, allowing us to serve as a conduit for accessing funding through that program at the state. We have issued $265,000 in loans that have been coupled with $90,000 in CDBG grants to small businesses. 11 jobs are anticipated to be created as a result of those investments. And the estimated impact we calculated using in-plan modeling software based on information that the borrower had provided as part of their projections. So 2.8 million overall impact from those projects over the next 3 years, potential to support 22 new jobs, and $2.70 of private funds were leveraged for every dollar of funding or financing that was secured through CADIC. We are actively soliciting projects for the local share account statewide program. Our applications are due October 31st. The state's deadline is November 30th. We build in a couple weeks cushion to work through those applications to make sure that we don't need any additional information. We want to limit the work of the team at DCD as much as possible and make sure that those organizations that are working with us are putting their best possible application forward. We haven't heard of any awards yet from the 2024 submissions. The September Commonwealth Financing Authority meeting was canceled, so we're just waiting to see when those awards will come out. Fingers crossed it'll be November, but I would suspect if there's not a state budget by that point, we're probably not going to have those awards.
Please. Don't hope for that.
Just a word of caution. Staff was engaged and was able to submit 4 redevelopment assistance capital program applications. 16 projects were submitted in Cumberland County and 831 were received across the state. And our grant manager, Alyssa, was successful in closing out 4 older projects, 2 from the redevelopment assistance capital program and 2 from the local share account program. In May, we were notified that we were successful in our endeavor to secure funding through the US EPA Brownfield Community-Wide Assessment Grant Program. The scope that we submitted was really 3 phases. Phase 1 is to develop a countywide brownfield inventory. Phase 2 is prioritize and fund those sites submitted through that inventory to determine what sites are positioned well to receive phase 1 environmental assessment, site assessment funding. And phase 3 is to narrow that down even further and identify 5 sites that would be the highest priority for site reuse planning, as well as the development of an area-wide plan. We did put out an RFP for a qualified environmental professional firm. Those RFPs are due on Friday. We still don't have a federal budget, so there is a shutdown there. So we're anxiously awaiting a cooperation agreement as progress with that continues to move along. But after we contract with the firm, we are going to implement a steering committee, gathering some input from them and some local stakeholders, as well as begin our outreach plan and launch the brownfield submission portal. Frog Switch, RecFS did secure a $10.2 million PA sites package consisting of 60% grant, 40% loan. And that's great news. But ownership has come with its troubles. In June, a few weeks after we took ownership of the site, there was a pretty nasty storm that came through and pulled down some trees and damaged some fencing, so compromised some site security. We were able to pay for that debris to be removed and fence to be repaired. I think we are all aware of July Lifeline. We were fortunate to have spotted a fire at the facility, and the quick response by local fire departments limited the spread of that fire, and the damage at the site was minimal. That was ruled accidental, but we are still waiting on the final report to come out. Most recently, there were some rumors on social media that rattlesnakes appeared to be coming from the site. We did have Fish and Boat Commission out. They saw no evidence of activity there. They're working on scheduling a follow-up to have someone come out and inspect for den evidence, but I don't know that we have a timeline for that just yet. We were able to complete the phase 1 site assessment back in April. No surprises there. Phase 2 environmental assessment is starting in mid-October, we hope. Again, that's something that's being coordinated with the US EPA, and we're not quite sure what the impact is going to be of the federal budget impasse. The hazardous building material survey has been completed, and we expect those results in the next week or so. We did put out an RFP for an owner's representative, and SR Duffy Consulting has been selected. They will assist us with contracts, bidding, construction management, and development of an RFP for a master developer. And lastly, we did launch a microsite for Frog Switch in the interest of information sharing and transparency. Cumberland York Area Local Defense Group, we continue to meet on a quarterly basis, and we've been able to visit with representatives from the installations. And Janet and I had the pleasure of attending the Senate Veterans Affairs and Emergency Preparedness hearing at Defense Logistics Agency in Susquehanna, which included a tour of their modernization project. That's really quite amazing what they're doing there. And through that group, we're also working on planning a regional defense industry event for sometime in 2026. And with that, I will hand it over to Julie.
Okay. I have just a few brief, quick areas to report out on. I won't take too much time. In the area of administration, specifically staffing, we did hire our Director of Tourism and Marketing, Laura Delaney, and she's been a great asset to the team. And we also had hired 2 summer interns this year, one to support our tourism and marketing team and one to support economic development. They both did numerous projects that were very beneficial, and they were with us till about the end of August, till they returned to school. With regards to employee professional development, we had 4 staff members complete additional training and/or education towards obtaining certifications. And we had 8 staff members attend various conferences from April through August. One conference of particular importance to mention was the National EPA Brownfields Conference in Chicago that was held in August. CADIC's attendance was mandatory as a result of receiving the EPA Brownfields Award. And Janet Anderson and Greg Welker represented CADIC at that conference. We have some staff team building activities worth mentioning. On September 24th, just last week, CADIC staff had a picnic lunch with the two other business tenants in our building. So it was some team building and also just neighborly building within the whole office structure. It was a nice event. It was just over lunch, and everybody pitched in and brought food. And Janet was the grill master for that event. Vicky's Angel Foundation received an LSA grant through CADIC last fall. Our staff has actually chosen to participate in the annual Vicky's Angel Walk next Saturday on October 11th to show our support for this organization. And then lastly, we are planning a staff retreat team building day on October 14th. The staff does not know yet what we are doing. We are keeping it a little bit of a secret. So we hope for that to be a nice, relaxing and kind of reset day for everybody. On the next slide, with regards to our board, we currently have a full complement of board members, and they have continued to work towards finalizing recommended bylaw changes and updating and reviewing all committee responsibilities. Additionally, recruitment efforts have begun for the February reorganization meeting. And in the area of finance, CADIC's 2026 budget remains a work in progress. A first draft has already been presented to both the Finance Committee and the CADIC Board for their review. It is our intention to present the final draft to the board for approval in November. And that ends my reporting out, so I will hand the reins back over to Janet.
So we're going to talk a little bit about our partner engagement. From April until the end of September, CADIC hosted a diverse lineup of events designed to strengthen economic development, promote tourism, and engage key stakeholders across Cumberland County. These events reflect CADIC's commitment to transparency, education, and community collaboration. These not only support CADIC's mission, but also directly align with the county's goals of economic vitality, workforce development, and regional competitiveness. And you can see it's a pretty diverse group of things that we've been doing in that short period of time. Also in partner engagement, from April through the end of August, CADIC staff actively engaged with the community by attending a total of 91 events. These included ribbon cuttings, groundbreakings, network events, site visits, and various chamber functions, demonstrating again CADIC's commitment to regional visibility and relationship building here in Cumberland County. The consistent presence across diverse engagement reinforces CADIC's role as a proactive and accessible partner here in Cumberland County's economic and community development efforts. And then I'm just going to sum up a couple of things. We want first to thank you again for your leadership and investment in CADIC. We've talked about a lot of results today. We've talked how your proactive support enables us to be proactive, responsive, and innovative through several of the things that you've heard today, including almost 40,000 visitors guides. I think you said all over the place, so you'll see them everywhere. As we finish up our budget and prepare for next year and upcoming events and programs, we remain focused on delivering value to the county and its residents. And that's why we're here today. I do want to take 1 second to recognize 2 of my board members that are participating. I think Carol Kilko is online listening in, and John Cox, who is here with us today. So thank you for your time, and we'll open it up for any questions you may still have from the presentation.
Janet, just one second. I just wanted to congratulate Janet. As you know, but for the benefit of the public, Janet was the recipient of this year's Luminary Award, the West Shore Chamber, which was very well attended. And kudos to Janet. Great for her, great for the organization. I'm very encouraged as the chair of the board about where the meeting is now and the outstanding team that she's been able to build around her. I think we're headed in a very positive direction. So just wanted to thank Janet and the entire team for all their hard work and dedication.
Thanks, Jen.
And no real questions of mine, but you know, Jonathan, I agree. Quite frankly, when I first became part of this board, I had a lot of concerns about the organization and where it was going, and it appears to be much more focused now on what activities are helpful and good and verifiable and creating results. And just not to state the obvious, but I guess for some, it is pretty obvious. I want folks to know, if anyone tunes in, when you thank us for this funding, which I really appreciate, it's really a hotel tax that we collect and pass on that you are deploying on behalf of the county. So it is not our general fund money that is funding this activity. It is the collection of the hotel tax. So that's why it's so focused on tourism and economic development. So that is obvious to some, but think necessary in context as we discuss budgeting and where money's coming from and those sorts of things. But I agree, I think that, you know, the reporting has gotten significantly better from my perspective to understand more about what is happening at the organization. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did anyone have any comments or questions they would like to ask at this time?
I think it would be very interesting. Especially when I look at the tourism and marketing page, Janet. Where it says tourism supports 6,530 jobs and $248.6 million in labor income, but also contributes $48.8 million in state and local taxes. I wonder if somehow we could compare that to hotel tax collected. Right? What is the return on investment in that? I'd like to see that for a lot of things. I mean, I think that's very, I think it would be very interesting, especially when you talk about, you go out to your socials, right? And you're talking about that pickup in check-ins at trails, right? This is the first time that I remember hearing things like that on such, like, this is a huge leap, right? The social media increases is, I think, something very worth mentioning and continuing to work on. But I would like to know, like, what was your investment and what was the hotel tax dollar comparison? Because that is the whole point, you know, the point of the hotel tax is that we're bringing people here to stay in hotels and to spend tourism dollars. And I would be interested in knowing that.
We'll do some digging.
Thanks. And Laura, I think that goes to the same question I've asked in surrounding the trails and check-ins. Like, if there's any way to know if it's a local check-in versus a state and what that ratio is.
I think we provided maybe just a quick overview at the informal meeting, but we can look at some more of that, you know, in market, out of market.
And I don't know the value of the number of people that are just transient going through here out of context. So like the visitor days, you know, and I appreciate that you gave parameters, right? I mean, it's just, you know, they can be passing through, but in context that when you started looking at it, maybe it was only 3 million. And now at least we would have some context surrounding how many people are passing through Cumberland County.
And to your point, we can look at the way we're sort of building that platform is looking at points of interest. We could look to pull some of our major points of interest and see what those numbers look like. I mean, we have lots of points of interest, so maybe compiling that would be a little more labor intensive, but we can work towards something like that. So we can see the people who are really patronizing those places that we're promoting and get a better idea of who's not maybe just passing through.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess I was, you know, the primary places of interest for me are always is AHEC, you know, like what is AHEC driving to this county? You know, in that partnership that you have.
I think we did pull an AHEC report recently, so we can definitely look at that and share that information.
Like, you know, I look at the origin DMAs, and I wonder how many days people are staying here, right? But you know, on my Instagram, I constantly get ads to go have brunch in DC. Like, I have clearly been targeted as someone who would go to DC and spend a lot of time. And whoever is doing that has to be tracking, what do I do with that ad? Right? And does that ad mean that I'm driving to DC or going there, right? And having brunch at that restaurant?
Yes, there is with technology, combining geolocation data and or website, because there might be a website visit in there.
Okay.
It's a little more nebulous to follow each of those steps.
Okay.
And that's why some of these geolocation platforms are modeled. We have to sort of make some assumptions based on larger assumptions. So I think we're getting better as an industry trying to fill in those blanks, but at this moment, we won't be able to say with certainty. But we're getting better at being able to figure out, you see an ad, you show up in market.
Okay,
So-
no, I'm very interested in that. There's I listen to satellite radio, and there's ads on satellite radio for places in Philly. And I've walked into places in Philly and said, oh, I heard you on, right? And they've to be spending satellite radio advertising dollars, their track has to be, they know exactly what is happening with those dollars.
Well, as a marketer, we love people who tell us outright how you heard about us.
Laura, the one other thing I think that is gonna be important is also that idea of, connecting with the region. That we are one stop in the region of people coming to visit, that they may be visiting Hershey Park, or they may be visiting Gettysburg, and how we're connected in that with those other things that are out of our county.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that goes to wider itineraries. How do we promote that? Because that gets people into, maybe it's an extra day, maybe it's an extra half of a day, but we can show what is the larger visitation.
So we gather any data that links visitors here to those other destinations, Dutch country, Gettysburg.
I think so. We are working on some points of interest outside of Cumberland County as we're building out this platform. Things like HIA, but we don't have that built out completely. But to your point, I think Hershey Park would be a good place to see if we can see a visitation in Hershey Park, and then over here, maybe it's AHEC. And
We already know that a lot of Hershey Park visitors stay
over here. Yes.
Because of the abundance of flowers as well.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things, and I brought this up before, was, our biggest driver, as far as I know, is still the car shows. And they collect tons of data. We don't see any of that. Obviously, you folks help promote that. I have to think that that's still far and away out in front of AHEC in terms of being a driver for visits. So it would be interesting to know, to see that featured a little bit more.
We estimate, and this is loose estimations, about 1 million visitors per year to the car shows. The one problem with that is they have a cache key, so it's hard to track other than maybe like a clicker. So there is some difficulty in measuring that precisely. We are in contact with them, and they, share information about visitation from Canada, for example. So to your point, it would be nice, to have more robust information about that. But again, we estimate about 1 million visitors per year for that. So.
They estimate an average stay for visits, because some people come for 1 day, some people come for 2 or 3.
I'm not sure. That's something we could ask them.
I'd be curious if they know, if they have some of that information.
Just anecdotally, I was there with Patrick for the Corvette show, and we were talking to some of the owners, and I know they were in town for at least 2 days. So purely anecdotal, but especially the exhibitors, they're going to be there for at least a couple of days.
Well, thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
We have one more agenda item, and I'm gonna ask you this. What time do we have to be at our next place?
3:30. We're running up against it. Is that something we should reschedule? Is it possible to reschedule? See ya, thanks.
I don't know at this point with all the people.
I'm not sure that we're gonna have as much, this is just a discussion and possible direction.
Where
It
exactly
doesn't
are we
require
going?
action.
Dickinson track and field.
Okay,
Yep, right here in Massey's.
thank you. Okay. 3:30.
We just blocked money.
Kirk and Stephanie, did you want to kick off the discussion? We don't have to, this doesn't require action of the board at this time.
That's, so really in short, we had our resolutions done a while back for the 30 by 30. That resolution directed staff to put together a memo to the board each year to give you an update on where we were in progress of reaching that 2030 goal, and then what the funding allocations for that was. We provided that to you. The Farmland Preservation Board took action at their August meeting, recommending that the board provide $850,000 to the Farmland Preservation Program. The memo outlines all the details, what that gets you. The memo also identifies some federal funds that are coming to us next year. Well, it's one-time money, so it's like every year, but it's one-time money that gets some bonus acreage. So really, we're here to answer your questions, but we've been through this drill many times. So why we wanted to do the allocation now is so we get it during our budget discussions and not the tail end in January after all this stuff's been done, that this decision's made as part of your budget negotiations.
Those federal dollars, what are they based on?
So we applied for federal funding for a specific farm a few years ago. So the Big Hall Farm, that was 600 acres that we preserved over the summer. So it's a reimbursement that comes to Cumberland County. So that farm actually settled in August. We submitted the paperwork and just waiting for that reimbursement. So I'm hoping that it'll come probably by the end of the year, and that'll go to our state pot, which we can then allocate to more farms.
So if we don't, so they just don't hand us that money.
Yes, that's
Okay,
correct.
it's not like, here's your $1.1 million every year from the federal government. We have to preserve a farm to get a federal reimbursement.
Yeah, you make an application for a specific farm and then it's a reimbursement basis. So that's why we have it as an add-on, because well, given the current situation, we anticipate receiving it, but until it's money in our pocket, we don't spend it.
But the Hall Farm has already been protected.
Yes, yep, it's preserved.
And county dollars went into that.
It was all state dollars.
It was all
for that
state.
particular
Okay.
farm.
Okay. So then that's why you're saying this has to go back into state pot, so to speak, of funding.
Yes, yeah. Which is typical, but I mean, we access it. It can't go to anyone else, just would come back to Cumberland County. But
Okay,
then the state would write a check to the landowner and we pass it through.
okay. So one question I had, and pardon me, I forget, when Silver Spring Township became a township that was doing farmland preservation. Do you know approximately what year that was?
2013, something like that, I believe.
So when the proclamation was made for the 30 by 30 thing, had we partnered with Silver Spring Township to preserve farms when that proclamation was made?
I don't want to misspeak. I know we did farms in Silver Spring Township prior to 2019, but I believe we had a partnership with them, already been forged, but I'd have to go back to my records to look at the first time we worked together jointly.
And Stephanie, I asked that question only because it seems that a level of funding had been determined at a point in time before. You've been able to really work with Silver Spring, thank goodness. And it's been able to really extend our dollars because they're putting in a substantial amount of money. So that's why I ask, because it goes to the question of somehow 850 was this magical number that was said to be required to make all of it happen. But if we have a municipality helping support our program, I'm just questioning whether the 850 is still the number.
Well, and 850 is the number that the Ag Board selected because it gets us to the roughly 800 acres a year. When we started with the resolution, we needed about 900 acres a year in order to get up to the 30,000. There's a couple of years we did better than 900 acres a year. So it's been kind of tempered down to roughly 800 acres a year is what we need to get to the, 30,000 acre goal.
And when you're doing that, I mean, you don't know who's going to be in Silver Spring Township, but of the 800, if you did a farm in Silver Spring that was 200 or 400, that would extend our money significantly.
Yeah, absolutely. And we selected a farm in 2025 that we're working with Silver Spring Township on. They're paying, half out of pocket to match our funds.
And just to be clear, so when the township puts money on the table and we're looking at a project there, does that increase we have a number of farms, obviously, who are competing. So does that move them up the list? Does that make that?
It does. When someone from the outside brings at least 50% of the money to the table, we can bump them up the list. This year, we selected farms 1 through 9. This farm happened to be 11. So it was almost there, but not quite there. But we took them out of ranking order because they brought those funds to the table. And then, talk about extending the dollars. What I then say is Silver Spring Township pays the money to Cumberland County. Cumberland County writes a check to the landowner. And then the following year, we certify those funds to the Commonwealth and get match money for their funds too, to bring even more money to the table.
And just for clarification, the Silver Spring program is land preservation, not just farms, is that right?
That's correct. So there are 1,000 acres that they celebrated over the summer. A portion of that was farmland, but a portion of it was also riparian areas, meadows, other woodlands, yes, that they found, important.
For the
But it's the $850,000 that gets us to the 30 by 30.
Yes, based on where we are now, which is roughly 27,000 acres of farmland preserved. If you count what's preserved and what's pending, what's kind of in the hopper. We have 4 years left till we get to 2030. Divide 3,000, it's about 800 acres a year that we need. And then when we work it backwards for the funding that we would need to total preserve the 800 acres, it was 850,000. And, unfortunately, that 850,000 kind of gets us less each year because while farms aren't, easements aren't escalating significantly, everything gets a little bit more expensive every year. So that's why the 850,000 allows us to get the 800 acres, even though previously it got us, 900 or so in previous years.
Between 27 and 2022, 23,300 acres of farmland were lost. What? Do we know?
You're reading from the
Yes.
memo? Let me just make sure I know which stat here. That was the Census of Agriculture.
Okay.
So they could have been taken out of farming or converted to some other use.
Okay.
So those are the acreage that were documented in the census.
So question for you. So the 30 by 30 obviously it's more of an aspirational goal, but there's not a lot of hard numbers around. We have stated in the past that our objective is to preserve the class 1 soils because they're most productive. We're not doing just class 1 soils, but that is supposed to be top of the heap. So of the farms that are waiting, that are on the list now, how many acres under application are class 1?
I can't answer that off the top of my head.
Okay.
I would, if I had to guess, I'd say the top half. We can go back and look at how many are in the ag prime area, which would be primarily class 1 and 2 soils. And happy to literally get you that number tomorrow. But the way our ranking system is set up, Soils are 40% of the score. So the best farms in terms of soils go to the top of the list.
Is this really aspirational or could this really be done?
It can be done. When we established the goal was based on what can staff reasonably process? What is a reasonable budget number, what they thought at the time? What was the demand for the program? What's the community support for the program? So there was a logic to how the number was derived.
Is there still a demand for 30 by 30?
We have about 50 applications on file right now. We had 47 at the start of the year, preserving 9. Another 10 came in the door, and I expect more will come in the door before the end of the application period. Typically, whatever we preserved, we get back in the new applications.
Okay. And you've had some farms on the list that just annually they've been on for a very long time and may not be scoring high enough to elevate to the top tier.
Yes, unfortunately, there's folks that are at the bottom of the list now, and they've been at the bottom of the list for a while because they just don't compare. Because every year we reshuffle the ranking to determine, it's always selecting the best farms.
Stephanie, when the number 850, and I know you made some reference to that there was logic, but I'm not sure that the board of prior years could foresee the funding difficulties that perhaps we're facing now, or maybe they just didn't want to acknowledge them, quite frankly, because I think structurally there's been a problem for a while. When that was established, were bargain sales an issue at that time? Had you been doing them since the beginning of the program?
Yeah, we've been working on bargain sales for probably the last decade. Some years there's more than others. It just all depends on who has interest, or when we can partner with Silver Spring Township, or when we can get federal funds. That's another reason we can actually take something out of order. If we can get 50% of the money to the table from any other entity other than county, state.
And I am not at all minimizing the need to preserve farmland. I am absolutely not minimizing that, and I do support this program. I am just trying to come into what is the right number that, quite frankly, we can afford to do and continue to make an impact. So if we were to allocate $500,000 in a year when we know we're getting $1 million additional, I think that is a very, the $500,000 with state funding, you turn into 1.5 million, correct?
Yes. $500,000 turns it into 1.9.
1.9.
Even better.
Yeah, even better.
Does it work that way?
So in terms of the numbers that are in this spreadsheet, what I did is I provided the Department of Agriculture that grayed out column of county contribution, and I asked them, can you predict what state funding would be? And these were the figures that they got back to me on. They are based on what they anticipate the state is going to have into the program and what other county contributions are. Because, for example, if another county puts in a lot more, or another leading county puts in less, it would impact our allocation. So this is a best guess. It is a steadfast formula that they use year after year. So I feel pretty confident in these numbers, unless something pretty radical happens on the part of another county or the state's commitment to this program.
To the best of your knowledge, the state is still committed to this program.
Yes. And this money does not come from taxpayer dollars. It comes from environmental stewardship funds, cigarette tax, and other sources of funds that is not, derived from, the regular tax base.
And the legislature isn't pushing to change any of that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, in all fairness, a few years ago, there was a proposal put forward to essentially draw down all these accounts that had quote, too much money because they were planned on a multi-year basis. That included our recycling money. And I'm pretty sure it was your money as well.
Yep, you got it.
So as the state faces these shortfalls, I wouldn't be surprised to see them try to float that again. And, they tried it last time and it was a heavy lift. They didn't get it. But desperate times, desperate measures. Are they going to revisit that again? So we'd like to think it's secure. Nothing's secure.
Yep.
So I'd like to, I know, I'm sure you can't do this right this second, but I'd like to know a couple of numbers. So between 2017 and 2022, we lost 23,300 acres of farmland. What did we preserve every year between 2017 and 2022? And then if we can get, I know we have the numbers on what we've preserved between 2019 and now. I'd like to know what we lost. Okay. And even if, like, let's say that today we sat here and we said, we're taking, we're going to put X number of dollars into this, and we have a problem with the state budget. We can adjust, right? We can say, we're going to put this in. And if the state budget doesn't come through, if something happens, right, it's sitting in the budget. But we could pivot, we could adjust if we needed to.
The final determination for the program for next year will have to be done by January 31st. That certification that the state sends out in December, we have till the end of the month to put a final number in and send it over to the Department of Agriculture.
The end of December.
The form comes in December, but the certification is by January 31st.
And by January 31st, we would most certainly know how we were sitting with that state budget. And if they had changed something in this farmland, right, in this program, I would hope. I mean, we should know, one would hope we would know federally, like, is the federal government going to be like, meh, right, and remove this program? We don't know.
Yeah, NRCS has told us that right now there is about $3 to $4 million in unspent funds on an existing contracted program. So I intend to try to get more federal funds. They can be a bit of a heavy lift in terms of the bureaucracy, and the landowners have to accept some additional funds. But as staff, I think our goal is always to stretch our dollar as far as possible.
And I think you do a great job of that, working all these different angles. And I know you're looking at possibly, the groundwater recharge that, with the SRBC funding that is available to try and make some of these projects even more appealing, should we say, for people to preserve. So I appreciate that. It's just, these are challenging questions. So. And I appreciate this discussion and having this information now, before the budget is completed, before we get to that end of year. It's unfortunate the state has us a little bit topsy-turvy here with waiting on what that is going to bring to us. So. Well, I'd like that information.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Anything else comes up, you know where to find us.
Yep. Thank you. There was something I was going to ask, and I cannot recall it at the moment, but I'm sure if I think of it, I will email you. All right. Thank you very much for all the information. Is there any other business to come before the board at this time? No, move to adjourn.